Hey, you guys. Let's do the sheriff's blotter tonight. Here's a Tootsie Roll Pop I'm sucking on. Sour blue raspberry Tootsie Roll Pop. Remember to lower the brightness on your screen and lower your contrast. Lower your contrast on your device so the screen won't be so bright and it'll be easier for your brain to relax and fall asleep. If it's too bright, you can't fall asleep. Okay. A man, age 52, was cited for child abandonment after leaving his children unattended in a store in the 2000 block of the main boulevard for 45 minutes with no money and no way to contact him. Property company in the 700 block in Collie such and such was vandalized with graffiti, causing about $100 in damage between August 18th and 22nd. Next, a flat screen television and a Nintendo Wii console were stolen from the clubhouse in the such and such a village at the 2700 block of such and such a drive. About $50 in property was stolen from the health plan shop in the 700 block of such and such a drive. Next, whoops, where's my Next, up to $1,000 in damage was stolen from an unlocked car in the first block of such and such a lane. A man, age 52, was arrested for elder abuse, illegally possessing a firearm, and for being under the influence of and possessing a controlled substance in the 2000 block of such and such a lane. Next, a 26-year-old woman was arrested on an outstanding warrant in the 2000 block of such and such. Next, a man aged 32 was arrested for threatening to injure another person in the 500 block of such and such a circle. A 23-year-old man was arrested for identity theft and being under the influence of and possessing a controlled substance in the first block of such and such a drive. Next, a man aged 39 was arrested for injuring his spouse on the northbound such and such a road. The rear window of a car was broken in the first block of such and such, causing more than $400 in damage between August 21st and 22nd. A 36-year-old woman was arrested on an outstanding warrant in the 2000 block of such and such a street. Next, a 59-year-old man was arrested for injuring his wife in the 100 block of such and such a court. A car was vandalized, causing more than $400 in damage in the 300 block of such and such. and such a drive was vandalized with more than $500 in damage. Next, up to $1,000 in property was stolen from an unlocked car parked on such and such a lane between August 23rd and 22nd. Next, an unknown amount of property was stolen from 3 locked cars in the 2000 block of the boulevard. The window of a car in the 300 block of such and such was vandalized. Debit cards were stolen from the car, and $135 worth of fraudulent purchases were made at multiple locations. Next, a man aged 45 was arrested for felony vandalism at the In-N-Out Burger parking lot on such and such a boulevard, and also in the 99 cents only store parking lot, such and such a drive. Next, a 21-year-old man was arrested for possessing a switchblade and marijuana on the first block of such and such. August 23rd, unknown people used false identities to obtain prescription drugs from the CVS drug company on the boulevard. Oh my goodness. A man aged 30 was arrested for disobeying a domestic relations court order in the 1000 block of such and such. A 19-year-old man was arrested. Outstanding warrant for possessing a controlled substance and drug paraphernalia in the 2000 block of such and such a road. Next, up to $1,000 in merchandise was stolen from Tommy Hilfiger in the 900 block of such and such center. Next, a 20-year-old man was cited for having an alcoholic beverage in his car without an adult who was 21 years or older at the boulevard in such and such a place. That is weird. It says for having an alcoholic beverage in his car. It doesn't say an opened, it just says a beverage. Does that mean just like a can of beer or something? Oh my goodness. So does that mean if you go to the store and you buy alcohol and you put your groceries in the car and then your kids are there and then on the way home you stop and you step out of the car to buy a newspaper. So technically are they in trouble because they're in a vehicle with alcohol? That's an interesting one. Maybe there's more to the story that I'm not understanding. Next, the window of a store in the 4000 block of such and such was broken, causing more than $400 in damage, and about $1,500 in damage was stolen. Between August 20th and August 26th, police reported arresting 2 people for driving without a license or on a suspended license, and 4 people on suspicion of driving under the influence of a controlled substance. During that same time period, I lost my spot. During that same time period, 17 people were arrested on various drug charges, and 1 person was arrested for public intoxication. Father. Okay. Mail was stolen from such and such an engineering company in the 4800 block, such Collie such and such. Next, property was stolen from the such and such a building in the 3000 block of the boulevard between August 5th and 8th. Next, about $300 in damage was stolen from a building. Stolen from a building on the 800 block of such and such an avenue. Next, up to $1,000 in merchandise was stolen from the Target store in the 200 block of such and such. Property was stolen from an unlocked car in the first block of such and such between August 5th and 6th. A man, age 35, was arrested for being under the influence of a controlled substance, possessing drugs and drug paraphernalia, and shoplifting in the 200 block of such and such a boulevard. His female companion, age 38, was also arrested for shoplifting, possessing burglary tools, and being under the influence of a controlled substance. A 33-year-old woman and 31-year-old man were arrested for camping in a public place in the city. Next, an unknown object was used to scratch two cars, causing about $1,000 in damage in the first block of such and such a street. Next, a cell phone was stolen in the 900 block of such and such a street. Next, a wallet was stolen in the 300 block of such and such. Next, a woman, age 27, was arrested for being under the influence of a controlled substance and possessing a smoking device and a firearm in a car in the 1300 block of such and such. What's a smoking device? Smoking device? Like an electronic cigarette? Oh boy, a 39-year-old man was arrested for shoplifting, being under the influence of a controlled substance, and possessing drug paraphernalia on such and such a street. Next, about $185 in merchandise was stolen from the grocery store at the 5000 block of such and such a boulevard. Next, a 29-year-old man was arrested for commercial burglary in the 3000 block of such and such. The apartments on the 600 block of such and such were vandalized with graffiti, causing about $400 in damage. Next, merchandise was stolen from Old Town such and such in the 2000 block of the boulevard between August 9th and 10th. Up to $1,000 in merchandise was stolen from the pharmacy in the 300 block of such and such. A man, age 31, was arrested for taking a company vehicle for a joyride for his own purposes in the 700 block of such the boulevard. A 31-year-old woman was arrested on an outstanding warrant in the 2000 block of such and such. An 18-year-old man was cited for carrying a switchblade knife in the 5000 block of such and such. Such and such. And his 18-year-old male companion was arrested for possessing an explosive bomb in his pocket. Are you kidding me? That's terrible. Next, a man age 22 was arrested on an outstanding warrant, 2000 block of such and such. A 37-year-old man was arrested on an outstanding warrant on the 600 block of such and such. Property was stolen from an unlocked car in the 1400 block of such and such. Next, a woman age 28 was arrested for domestic battery and being under the influence, and on 2 local warrants in the first block of such and such. Next, someone removed a window screen at the home in the 1800 block of such and such in an attempt to break into the home. Next, about $100 in property was stolen from an unlocked car in the 200 block of such and such ward. Next, a 48-year-old man was arrested on 3 outstanding warrants at the intersection of such and such. Next, a man aged 31 was arrested on 2 outstanding warrants in the 3000 block of such and such. Between August 6 and August 12, police reported arresting 7 people on suspicion of driving under the influence of a controlled substance and 16 people on various drug charges. 3 people were arrested for public intoxication. Let's see here. Excuse me. Okay, this is the last one. Someone stole a bicycle in the 1000 block of such and such. A $600 diamond ring was stolen in the 200 block of such and such. Residential mail was stolen from a mailbox in the 100 block of such and such. Property was stolen from 3 garages in the 5000 block of such and such. Next, a man, age 29, was jailed for an outstanding warrant in the 500 block of such and such. 2 cars in the 500 block of such and such were vandalized, causing more than $1,000 in damage. A vandal scratched the paint and cut tires of 2 cars in the 1800 block of such and such, causing more than $5,000 damage. A 30-year-old woman was arrested for possessing stolen property and writing fraudulent checks and burglary tools in the 5,000 block of the Center Street. She was also arrested for being under the influence of a controlled substance. A man, age 55, was arrested for upsetting and disturbing the peace and injuring a relative in the 200 block of such and such. A 30-year-old woman was cited for disturbing the peace in the 200 block of such and such. A 30-year-old man was arrested for warrant and resisting arrest in the 200 block of such and such. A man, age 31, was cited for possessing a switchblade in the 200 block of Avenida such and such. Property was stolen from a home in the 900 block of Avenida de la such and such. Next, an 18-year-old woman was arrested for violence in her home, resulted in visible injury to a family member in the 100 block of Avenida de la such and such. A woman, age 30, was arrested for outstanding warrants, resisting arrest, in the 300 block of Cali such and such. A 52-year-old man was arrested for criminal threats in the 1700 block of Via such and such. Next, a man, age 20, was arrested for possessing a baton at the intersection of Cali such and such. A 19-year-old man was arrested for conspiring to commit a crime and grand theft auto in the 200 block of the Boulevard. His 18-year-old female companion was also arrested for conspiring to commit the crime also and possessing stolen merchandise. Next, about $800 in property was stolen from an unlocked car in the 300 block of Via such and such. Next, nearly $1,000 in merchandise was shoplifted from Target from the 200 block of the Boulevard. Next, a man was arrested for outstanding warrants in the 5,000 block of Via such and such. A man, age 34, was arrested for driving under the influence of a controlled substance, child endangerment, at the intersection of such and such a street. Next, a 24-year-old man was arrested for entering a home in the first block of Cali such and such with an intent to commit larceny. Next, more than $1,000 in property was snatched from a locked gym locker in the 3,000 block of such and such. Next, a man, age 20, was arrested for shoplifting in 800 block of such and such. Next, a car was stolen from the 200 block of Via such and such. Next, a 34-year-old man was arrested for battery and false imprisonment at such and such on the Boulevard. Next, the rear window of the car was broken, causing $1,000 in damage in the 500 block of Via such and such. Next, police reported arresting 3 people on suspicion of driving under the influence of a controlled substance, and 12 people on various drug charges during that same time period. One person was arrested for public intoxication. Wow. Let's see if there's any spooky stories. Oh, here's one. Vandals causing $90,000 in damage to the seminary. Oh my gosh. Police will consider it that if the rampage was a hate crime. By Stephanie Sumel. Police are looking for vandals caused more than $90,000 to 3 buildings at the seminary. Catholic seminary. What happened? What's going on there? And that says the sheriff's department deputies were called to the religious seminary, and after a gardener saw that some of the buildings had been ransacked, Sergeant such and such said that the buildings were broken into, and he said windows, doors, cabinets, bathroom appliances, holy statues were broken and demolished in a destructive rampage, causing about $90,000 in damage. It was a lot of damage. Unbelievable and rare that anything gets vandalized to this extent, especially in a place of worship. And this is very troubling to the county. The crime is under investigation. They have no idea who might be responsible. We're following some leads right now, but at this point, I can't really go in too much. When the culprits are found, they will be charged with felony vandalism, could be ordered to pay restitution, and serve jail or prison time. Officers said police will also look into whether the vandalism would be considered hate crime that would result in prison time. It could be depending on the reason why it was done. Religious or sexual, vandalizing towards religious or sexual orientation or race can be considered a hate crime. Monsignor such and such said he did not return calls for comment at this time. Anyone with more information is urged to call the sheriff deputy department. the train. A man died after being struck by a train on Tuesday at the intersection of such and such. Oh my goodness, I know where that's at. And the circumstances surrounding the death are under investigation. That's terrible because this is right next to that seminary that just got vandalized from the other article. I wonder if that's the guy who did it and then he killed himself. Captain such and such of the county sheriff's office said the man was in his 20s. He was struck by the Amtrak train. Let's see what happened. Terrible. And it says that police were called to the scene about 2 in the afternoon, and his name has not been released yet, and interviewing witnesses to get a clearer understanding of what happened, and we do not suspect any foul play, but it would be very difficult to determine if it was suicide, though, that if witnesses interviewed step forward, we hope to have more clarity. There's 162 passengers on board with 3 crew members at the time. Nobody was injured. They were eventually diverted to the Metrolink and then transported the rest of their trip by bus. And the tracks were closed both directions for about 4 hours. And the train technicians tested the railroad crossing, which appeared to be working properly. Stephanie Sumel. Terrible. Arson suspected in a stolen car fire. By Stephanie Sumel. She's been reading she's been writing all the articles. Ventura County firefighters were able to extinguish a car fire early this month, but the circumstances behind the suspected arson and vehicle theft remains under investigation. Captain such and such received a call shortly after 11 a.m. August 5th reporting a car on fire in the Lemon Grove. Captain said the firefighters arrived and to find the 2009 Toyota Corolla fully engulfed in flames, and the fire was extinguished within the hour. Vehicle fires, yes, those are common, but when it's a stolen vehicle, that's not a common call at all for us. The sheriff's deputies were also called and arrived 20 minutes after the fire was put out, saying it was burned down to the metal and the VIN number had been removed beforehand. Oh, sounds fishy already. Officer found the car's license plate nearby and learned that the car had been stolen earlier that week. He said he has seen similar incident about 9 or 10 times in his 27 years on the force. We discovered what we think is an arson. Someone will take a car to a rural area such as this and destroy the evidence. Arson investigators are trying to figure out what happened, but have yet to find the culprit. The officer praised members of the public for their diligence in reporting the fire. Sometimes, he said, people assume that someone else has already reported the fire when no one really has, and we would rather get multiple calls on an incident than no calls at all. I think that's true. You kind of think that someone already called. Are you guys awake still? Here's a spooky one. Distracted driver guilty of 2 counts of vehicle manslaughter. That's terrible. Resident pleads no contest to charges. Oh, that's terrible. A woman responsible for a double fatal car crash was found guilty of 2 counts of vehicle manslaughter, according to the Superior Court. Oh, and she was distracted by her phone. Oh my goodness. That's sad for everybody. She hit a bicyclist and then overturned to overcompensate, and then crashed into a car head-on and killed that guy. And they were both pronounced dead at the scene. Oh. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. there's a caution about ankle sprains by Sidney K. Yao. Every day, an estimated 30,000 ankle sprains occur in the United States. Is that true? And if you experience a sprain, it's important to be evaluated thoroughly. An untreated ankle sprain may lead to chronically unstable ankle joint, and there the degenerative arthritis changes, as well as chronic tendon inflammation, and might also feel as if the ankle is constantly ready to give out, which can cause a re-injury of the ankle. If you have an ankle sprain, don't walk it off, don't ignore it, and don't delay treatment. And then they have this huge ad